With many miles to cover and lots of desert sights to explore along the way, we wake up early and break down camp. After a quick cup of coffee and some trail repairs after yesterday's crash, we're on our way. Last night's sleep was interrupted by what sounded like a full-on motorcycle rally happening just outside of our tents. Perhaps the full moon brought out a group pilgrimage to the Husky Monument. So we're not exactly well rested, but we're excited to tackle the day nonetheless.
Those are like rivers.
After an easy and fun 20-mile jaunt through the desert, we arrive at the remains of a town called Atolia. In fact, not much remains here, except abandoned mine shafts and endless piles of tailings, evidence of the industriousness of the miners that once swarmed this land in search of tungsten and silver. Just up the road, we come upon the little town of Randsburg, the namesake of the Randsburg mining district. Gold was found here in 1885, and by the end of 1886, 1,500 people lived here. But the local mine production declined during World War I, and the town never really recovered. Today, the town survives on tourism. It's a mecca for off-road enthusiasts and modern-day gold bugs. It's also commonly featured in films and commercials. Next on our route is a climb up to Burro Schmidt's tunnel. In 1890, a man named William Schmidt, nicknamed Burro, began excavating a tunnel through a ridge above his mining claim to enable transport of his ore to the smelter in Mojave. Using only hand tools and dynamite, Burro spent 38 years burrowing his way through the ridge. The project became such an obsession that even after a road was laid from the El Paso Mountains to Mojave, Schmidt kept digging until he broke through on the other side in 1928, nearly 40 years after he had started.
Yeah, over here there's a little rail cart track. Oh, that's fucking cool. At some point, probably by this part of the tunnel already, they completed the road. So he didn't have to do this anymore. But he was obsessed with it and wanted to finish. Why are these guys all decked out in armor and adventure gear?
Moving from the home of one desert urchin to the next, our next stop will be at Bickel Camp, the homestead of Burro's neighbor to the north, Walt Bickel. Walt Bickel, a heavy equipment operator from Kansas, came to the El Paso Mountains as a visitor during the Depression, and later returned to stay after World War II. He found sustainable gold in the area.
Yeah.
Not enough to make him rich, but enough that he could make a living from the desert that he loved so much. Walt was resourceful and inventive, with a rugged and independent spirit honed by the desert environment. His cozy little cabin still stands here today, surrounded by his many mechanical inventions that he used to process his placer gold and support everyday life in this remote outpost. When the BLM tried to force Walt off the land as part of a 1980s campaign to eliminate squatters and drug labs, overwhelming public support was effective in saving his camp from demise. But unfortunately, Walt suffered a stroke that left him hospitalized in nearby Ridgecrest until his death in 1996. Bickel Camp has since been protected and occupied by a handful of volunteer caretakers, with funding and support from the Friends of the Last Chance Canyon.
The only thing he can think of to do is come out and mine gold to make a living. So he came out here in 34 from that Packard car there. It's about brand new then, but it's not now. But anyhow, started building the cabin. He spent the next 50 years here mining gold. The only time he left really was for World War II, for the war. Look down 100 feet of water down the casing there.
Oh, wow.
And those are the drill bits that he used. It just pounds down. If you can take that off and look down there, just don't hit your head on this pole here.
Oh, thanks.
I've done it a few times.
Damn.
100 feet down.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's an amazing machine that he's
And it's a totally smooth walled, or maybe he capped it up here, but it's totally smooth.
Oh, man.
See it down there?
Yeah, you can see the water. You can see the reflection.
Yeah.
That's super cool. I'm always fascinated by these old engines.
Yeah, like that. It's kind of all one piece.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Big little compressor.
I don't think I'd ever seen anything like that.
And he lived out here full time?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
50 years.
Holy shit, look at all those cans.
50 years again.
Oh my gosh. That's incredible.
He was good friends with Burro Schmidt, and straight across the canyon is Burro Schmidt Tunnel. And at night they would force code each other.
Oh, that's awesome.
Although they survived.
that's super cool.
In fact, a couple times, old Burro Schmidt mining the fuse was expensive for blasting. He had cut it short, light it and run, and there's a couple times he didn't make it far enough away, and he had to come down here and have Walt fix him up from getting blasted.
After getting our fill of exploration and stories from Kip, the caretaker, we head back into the desert. We have about 12 more miles to cover until we hit pavement. Come over the ridge and begin our descent, we are immediately confronted with deep, fluffy sand, which makes for tough going. Nearly an hour to cover 12 miles from Bickel Camp. We finally hit pavement at Highway 14. Trace the eastern Sierra along Highway 395, the juxtaposition of snow-capped peaks against the vastness of the high desert is a visual feast. At Lone Pine, we turn off onto Whitney Portal Road, a scenic and twisty track that climbs up steadily toward Mount Whitney, glimmering in the sun in all of its snow-capped splendor. We turn off on Movie Road and descend into the Alabama hills, a surreal wonderland of rock arches, eroded hills, and gigantic mounds of rounded boulders. Movie Road gets its name from the countless films that this landscape has appeared in, from westerns to Star Wars, and it's easy to see what would draw a director to this place. Movie Road is closed, allegedly due to flooding, but as there hasn't been any rain here for weeks, we're not buying it. So we decide to see how far we can get, and our bit of naughtiness allows us to enjoy this landscape in complete solitude. While they are of identical age and composition, the juxtaposition between the jagged, splintered peaks of the Inyo Mountains and the rounded formations on the valley floor result from differences in weathering patterns. Up high, the freezing and thawing of rainwater and melting snow has caused a more chiseled splintering of the granite. But down in the warmer valley, the Alabama hills took their rounded shape from the more gradual, wind-driven erosion process.